Hello, and welcome back to Pints with Pals. My name's Mike, and with me today is Jeremy. Say hi, Jeremy.
Jeremy. Hi.
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, okay.
So today we have a beer that I was excited to share roughly 2 years ago. It is called the Malt Slayer from
Wicked.
the Hailstorm Brewery, which is one of my favorite breweries. This comes in at 10.2 ABV. And when I said 2 years ago, it's roughly, this was canned on the 28th of March. So we are not recording this too far in the future for past when you guys are watching this. So it's a terrifying experiment right now.
There's plenty ahead. Like, it's not
comes
flat
out
at all.
real dark. It looks like it has like a reddish hint. So I decided to use an old Rasputin cup. Ooh, I almost dumped it all over me. I got a little heady. So I think that they went super heavy with the malt in this one, based on the fact that it's called Malt Slayer. So I'm expecting it to be sweet, like with a very, maybe a chocolatey note. It smells barrel aged for sure.
It does have that, but it doesn't have that taste.
But it's not, it isn't barrel aged. And I think that was what I found when I first tried this. I found that as like a very unique characteristic, as like it looks and smells barrel aged, but doesn't taste it. It doesn't have like the raisiny aspects to it.
It's not as sweet. I'll let you go first. I'll tell you what I think.
Huh. Go ahead. Ooh,
So I don't find it that sweet at all.
No.
Which is fine, because like a Rasputin's really not sweet either. It's just, yes, it is a lot of malt. And it has a lot of malty character to it, but not like the sweet malty flavor. A lot of body, like you just feel it coat the whole mouth and tongue. Everything is just.
I still taste it. It fills your entire palate with flavor.
A little bit of smoke, like a little bit of smokiness to it.
It's like a smoky chocolate is what I'm tasting now, like a s'more almost. Like you're getting like the toasted sugars and like a little bit of a
like a bitter chocolate.
My exhale is very chocolatey,
like dark chocolate.
Yeah. Yes. The bitter chocolate. Yeah.
Yep. No, this actually, I'm surprised how good it is. Actually, it aged very well.
I was gonna say we might have to cut this episode short because it was like that last episode or one of the first episodes we did in this season. We did a beer I got at the same time, because this is in Tinley Park, was just south of Chicago, and we'd go there all the time. And I got like a 4-pack of each, and then the one really didn't. Like, I don't even think it tasted as good the next time I tried it within like a few months. And then when we tried it, it was disgusting. Like, we told Jason to just dump his out. And true. Then this one, I feel like definitely carried over all of the flavors, or it like, at least it didn't lose a lot of the notes. It might be different from when I had it the first time, but it's definitely good.
I was going to ask, like, do you notice anything different? I know it was a couple years ago, so it's kind of.
It's hard to say. I feel like this is very typical of their style of brewery. It's very thick, very heavy, and like it coats your palate. Yeah.
Did I ever get you any of the High Wire 1040 beer at all?
I feel like you might have. It sounds super familiar.
I
think you did, because 1040 is like the legal limit of your like 10.4 is like your one. Oh, is it?
Yeah. So this comes out of North Carolina, but we should focus on this beer. But it just reminds me of that viscous kind of flavor, just kind of coats. Does it give ingredients on this can at all? I didn't even just read it.
No, nothing. It's it just tells you about their tap room. This is very much like so like the can itself is just like a printed label, and then it's like it shows you like canned on in 2023. Yeah. So other than that, there is not a whole lot of information on here. I don't know if their website said anything about it. I feel like it didn't, or they don't have it listed because they only have like what's currently available.
Makes sense. Yeah. I'm going to do a little search.
Well, they have a bourbon barrel aged variant in 2024, but they don't have their regular one. I would like to have tried the bourbon barrel aged variant, aged for 20 months in a Four Roses barrel. But I thought that this was like, so when I was tasting this, I was excited because I was like, I kind of want to try like the beers that I like that are like pre-barrel aging them to see if I like that or if I like just the barrel aged component of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was kind of like trying to do here.
Almost. So, I wonder if they use the what's that called? There's a malt. It's called not the Black Pennant one. I'm not a fan of that one. There's one that's called like Black Prince or something like that.
Like if we went there, I bet you they would just tell us. Like they would probably just go through the whole process with us because they like my experience with Hailstorm has just been phenomenal. So that's why I feel like I push them on people. But like when I went to FOBAB for the first time, the Festival of Barrel Aged Beers, the best one that I had came from Hailstorm, and I'm like, this is the best thing I had, and then I ended up winning the year in 2019, I think it was. And I'm like, oh, so then I realized where it was, and we were staying in that area anyway. So I was like, cool, well, let's go there. But basically all of their stuff is so heavy and so thick that it like, it just is like, I need to be like, I can have like 2 of them and then we need to leave because I'm like, it's just too much. As far as like my stomach heavy. And everything is just like, yeah, it's just like I can't drink a ton of it. But one of the cooks or somebody there was like, because I was like, yeah, the 2019 was I think my favorite year, and he's like, well, I have like one of the bottles I can trade you for something. So I ended up trading him for a it was the like 2022 or 2023 No Rules. So I traded him for like a No Rules bottle. So we traded like straight up for like, or the variants or something. So like I gave him those things. It was a really cool experience. It was like, I talked to his wife she was like the tap room, like the lady, the bartender basically. And he was like, yeah, I can do that. And like he lives like, I think he lives like 50 miles away from there or something. So he's like always commuting. And I'm like, wow, that's a commitment really. I'm like, you must really like this stuff for you to like kind of to make that kind of a trip. Yeah. So what do you think? What are you gonna rate this? This is hard to rate, to be honest, for me.
Well, I'm thinking of the one I really enjoy the most, and it's not even, to me, it's not even the same ballpark. I like Rasputin. I think that's a very solid Russian Imperial Stout, which I just had like the epiphany a little while ago before we started recording. Did we do Rasputin at all in this podcast?
I don't think so.
Series? I don't see it. So this is definitely a solid 4, like across the board.
Yeah.
Maybe when it warms up, I could alter that.
To be higher, you think?
Well, it depends. Depends what I get out of it. I kind of want. Listen, I get that dark chocolate, but I also kind of get this really weird, lingering bitterness. It's just kind of it's just chilling on my tongue that I'm not a huge fan of, and it could be a hop. I mean, so it could just be that.
It could be age too. I mean,
it could be, yeah.
For it
so
to
like,
have
I'm just kind of
been
curious
2
how
years
it
old
goes.
and still be decent.
Yes. But I'm still. I said a 4. I mean, it's still.
That's. I think a 4 is solid.
Right.
I think that's right where I am. I think that if this were on tap, I would definitely get it. So I'm like, I'm at like a 4, a 4.1, I would say. 4.1. And that's like even with an asterisk of it being a 2-year-old beer. because like this again isn't barrel aged. It is high, being a Russian Imperial Stout. It is basically roughly double the amount of like fermentable sugars. So at like a 10, what was this? 10.2. Yeah. So at a 10.2, this is a very good beer, I think.
Oh, it is for sure. This is definitely not a crushable beer by any means.
No.
It's something you're gonna take your time, enjoy with a friend, play some pool, do something.
Yeah, doing a 16 ounce of it by yourself while you're trying to record a podcast.
I didn't realize how big this was, so this is definitely gonna be a sipper.
Maybe we're gonna die. No,
we're gonna die. I hope we don't die.
No, I think it's really good. I am pleased
according
at
to
the
Untapped. Yeah.
What is Untapped saying?
Untapped says it's only 20 IBU. I'm not buying that.
So that's what I'm wondering. That might be then an off flavor from age.
Yeah, it very well could be, but I mean, 20 IBU for an Imperial Stout is really, really low. And I'll explain why when we get to my brew of it. Because it's only being 20 IBU, like it would be, in my mind, it should be a lot more sweet than what it is. That's why I'm kind of curious when it warms up, like if that sweetness or maltiness is going to start coming forward a little bit more.
I mean, that's a good segue into like what would you do if you were to make something of the Russian Imperial Stout?
Yeah,
variants?
so I do have a recipe that it's getting kind of late in the season to make. I was supposed to make this right back in December, and I got lost track of time. Competitions are starting to kick up again, so I just never got a chance to make it. But I do want to make a 3-gallon batch because that's plenty. But so basically, I would use 10 pounds of Mare's Otter as my base malt. I would use 2 pounds of roasted barley. I would use about 10 ounces of Special B. That just kind of gives it more of like the biscuit caramel kind of flavor. About 4 or 5 ounces of Munich malt, 4 ounces of chocolate malt, and I was also thinking about adding just a little bit of a variant of a chocolate malt on top of it. So 2 different chocolate malts. They kind of give it like more of a complex kind of a more of a chocolate flavor.
That's an amazing idea.
And then for hops, I was going to use 1.25 ounces of Magnum for the first hour. The last 10 minutes, I would use an ounce of East Kent Goldings. That's roughly would be about 67 IBU. And that's what I was expecting. I was expecting to see at least 50 IBU on Untapped. So maybe Untapped is just completely wrong. Because I need to combat all those sugars that I'm putting into it. Like I want a nice balance. I want a semi-sweet, semi-bitter. I want somewhere like kind of floating in between. That's what I want. And I'm debating about potentially using 2 packages of yeast on top of it, just because there's going to be so much fermentable sugars. Like we're talking, the original Gravity Mic is going to be 1.12.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Nice.
It's a big boy, big boy. And then with like I'm debating between using 2 packages. I may just use the one and kind of see if it stalls out. I'll throw another package in. But I was looking at Nottingham yeast, which is kind of good for the Imperial Stouts. So mine would come out about 11%. Right. And then I would probably throw in about 3, maybe 3.5 teaspoons of yeast nutrients. So again, because it's just going to be such a big boy, I got to keep all those yeast cells alive for as long as possible. I would probably ferment it at about 66, 68 degrees, somewhere around there. Try to keep that constant. The mash temperature, I'm kind of iffy on. I was thinking about if I was going to mash in this big heavy grain bill, just doing 155 and just be done with it. But I wonder if I should do a step mash, do 140, I don't know, 146, then do 152, then hit 155 and just let it chill, so you get all those different proteins and all those sugars out and all that kind of stuff. Which maybe probably what I will do. But how much water I would need for this? I need 5 gallons of water to produce 3 gallons of beer, give or take, right? So it's a big beer.
I feel like even when I'm doing it, I start with like 6.5 gallons to get a 5-gallon beer, just because like once the boiling for an hour, you're gonna reduce like, well, the grain takes up a ton of water,
quite a bit, yeah,
and then the boiling reduces it quite a bit. So yeah, it's nuts.
It is nuts. Yeah. So, like I said, it's kind of late in the year. Maybe in the fall I'll make one and just let it sit and age for a long time. Just let it chill and just kind of do its thing. I mean, I could even start like fall, you know, and just let it chill to winter and just then maybe do a trade somewhere. You know, meet up and give you a couple
I think
of
that would be fun. I think it would be fun to do that together too. Like maybe try and do that on my my system to do our first like Imperial. I mean, you did the one that was similar, but we could probably do like a 4-gallon Imperial on my 7 or 9.2 gallon boiler.
Probably, yeah.
And then I think I would also like to do is like take that mash and then redo it again, like that same like night or the night after or whatever, and then try and do like a light beer off of that same grain bill. Like get like a nice,
do like a simple stout maybe, or somewhere in between there.
Yeah, like do like a 4.5%
party guy,
like,
something like that. Yeah, no, that'd be fun for sure.
Just to see what residual sugars you get out of that. It'd be kind of cool.
Well, yeah, most definitely, because it would definitely be a dark freaking beer, that's for sure. But yeah, that's kind of like my recipe. I kind of toyed around with and just kind of, I guess I just lost track of time. It happens.
That's good. I mean, it sounds like amazing. I'd like to be able to like see it. I can't see it. So I'm not gonna lie. I was ordering more grain, and I was trying to find like your recipe for your blueberry honey ale, and I was like looking on here, and I'm like, well, it doesn't say like what he's using for like the your blueberry extract, and I was like everything I'm looking at, it's like putting in the 4-ounce thing of blueberry extract. I'm like, that seems like too much. And then so I reached out to Jeremy, and he's like, yeah, I don't know, the 4-ounce thing. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
But what I've noticed is I'm leaning, as I've brewed, I'm leaning toward a lower ABV beer, because we currently have a Bourbon County on tap.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And that's like at 14 or 12 to 14%. Then I have a Scotch ale, which is like 9.5%, and then I had my Kolsch, which was like 5.5%, and then I had cider, which was 9%, another cider that was like 6%, and then I'm like, cool, well, I can't have like 2 or 3 of my own beers without just getting completely obliterated.
Yep, right.
And I'm like, well, this is not a way to like have like a fun game night or whatever. You might as well just be in like the bourbon closet, just like slamming bottles at this point. It's like, so. The next few, like the Kolsch, I feel like is crushable, but it's still a little bit higher ABV than I was expecting it to be, or not expecting it to be, but than I would like for an entire night of, I don't want to get drunk, but I want to have a beer like every hour,
right? And
I feel like an hour of beer, the about ABV threshold for me anyway is like 6%. So if I have something over 6%, it's going to push me into I'm going to get more drunk than that. And maybe even like 5%, 5.5%. And I'm not a huge fan of like just getting like completely obliterated, because then I just, at my age at this point, it's like, all right, well, now my entire weekend's shot.
Yes, I would rather have a nice couple cold brews and just we're good, we're golden. No, I agree. So I don't know if I brought this up last podcast, maybe I did, but I have a competition beer fermenting right now. I'm making a British bitter beer. That's what I'm making right now, and I think that's like a 4.2%. I think is what it came out to be, which is within range of a British beer. British beer is usually between 3 to 5%, somewhere in between there. So it tasted good before I threw in the yeast. So if I keep those notes transfer over, I just may make that again my go-to, which I haven't made it at all gosh, I didn't do any this year. I really like my cream ale. My cream ale comes out right around 5 or less percent, somewhere around there, and that's what I like to make. Kind of keep house beer, I guess, around.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's something. I would like to do a blonde ale. I did have a blonde ale that was phenomenal, and that was only like 4.5% too. So like maybe I'll just do that as well. Some simple.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of getting close to where I would probably be at. I feel like a blonde ale. I don't know. The Kolsch has been mine. I ordered another whole batch, and it's been this will be the fourth or third time I've brewed it with the same yeast. And the second time I brewed it, it's just crystal clear, and well, not crystal clear, but it's like as clear as any beer that I've made. And if I were to have ordered this at a brewery, I'd be impressed by it, which makes me feel like I'm tooting my own horn, but I don't toot my own horn very often. So like everybody that's like, oh, Mike likes it, I'm like, I don't think you understand like how much research that you've had to do for me to learn how to brew a beer. And it's for me, I feel like that I'm so proud of where I've gotten to, and I have you to thank for it, right? Like I feel like you've been able to kind of like guide me along this journey, but like giving me all the advice that you would have taken had you started later.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
so then I was able to kind of take that information and then kind of run with it. It's like, okay, well, there are like 3 things that make a good beer better. Like basically sanitization is like the number one thing in making sure that you don't get kind of any kind of infection or problems within it. So basically being clean. So it's like the joke is I got a cleaning hobby that results in beer. The second thing is like your fermentation conditions. Like don't ferment like in your garage unless you're using Kveikis, but that's a whole nother podcast. Like you don't want to do that in the summertime because you're gonna have the same off flavors and stuff, which that tied into using pressure fermentation to like wean me onto this hobby, because like I was really kind of scared of fermenting and then having just like it go wild with like esters and off flavors and stuff like that. So like just getting used to what the conditions that I was going to be fermenting in were like. Fortunately, like my basement stays a very consistent, like in the summertime it stays between like 65 and 68, and in the wintertime it's like 60 and about 65 in that basement room. So it's a very consistent temperature, so I'm lucky with there. And then the third thing is like, well, it's not necessarily a third thing, but like doing all grain, I think has made a huge impact in the quality of the beer that I'm able to produce because of the like sheer like variable that I'm eliminating. It's like, okay, well, this is a generic flavor that you're going to get with like the DME, the dry malt extract, that you're going to like, okay, it's a light beer or a dark beer. And then you can add flavors after the fact, but for the most part, they're just all the same or very similar.
They're very similar. Yeah, you find specialty grains to put in it to boost whatever flavors. I think to add a fourth thing to it, which you're probably not quite there yet because you're fine with the way you do it, I use distilled water. So I add brewing salts to mine because I try to hit certain like water profiles to kind of match that beer style, which is that I don't think ever really. I think me and Mike has talked about off camera. I don't think I really talked about on camera. I think I brought up like how much salts I use, but I think that's variant as well, or varies as well too. But again, I think every little thing you do definitely improves your quality of beer. It doesn't matter what it is. I think anything you change and tweak a little bit, your beer tastes better. I think just stick to that method and keep going with it. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, and I took what you had said a long time ago to me. It's like, if you like your water profile, you might, it's like coffee, right? Like if you like your water profile, you might like your coffee profile. So I was like, well, I'm going to just try it. We have Detroit water, which sounds disgusting, but it's actually a very really well treated. Yeah, it's a very, very well treated water. I added some Candem tablets,
yes,
whatever.
You're right.
I added those. It's like 1 per gallon. So I just added those, and then I also like would fill them like 2 to 5 days before I was doing it. So then I would have this water just like sitting on like 6.5 gallons of water, just like sitting out for like open, but like covered.
To degas a little bit, yeah.
And I think that made a huge difference. Like, so the canned habit and the like letting it degas like allowed it to kind of get to whatever you're at. I have not measured it yet, and I have all the tools. I'm just like, I don't want to go down that route of like trying to like mess with this like pH levels, and I don't have any of the stuff to like actually fix the pH. I think that's why I haven't gone that route. But
yeah, you need either baking soda or lactic acid. Those either you throw in a base or you throw in an acid. So it's either one of those two.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just something else that if let's say one day you make your Kolsch for the 5th time, you're like, oh, this just tastes kind of funny. Like, what's different? Is the grains different? Did my water change a little bit? Because your water company reports, I think, every 6 months or every quarter, so you can actually look at the actual.
The last one I didn't see was like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. So maybe they don't report as often as I thought they did.
I think they're supposed to.
Yeah. But I'm saying those would be the two things I would look at. If you make the same beer all the time, so this tastes weird, it's either going to be the grains are wrong, or water has changed on you somehow. Like, especially buying the kits. I mean, there's also, I guess yeast do. I guess yeast can be bad. Anyways, get off topic. Troubleshooting with Jeremy 101.
I like that this beer, 5 gallons of it, and I'm reusing my yeast. So like if you brew it every like, I would say like probably 2 or 3 months, your yeast sitting in the fridge is going to be fine, based on everything I've seen. They say like minimum or maximum 1 month, and I'm like, I don't believe that necessarily because it's just sitting there. So this is the first time I washed my yeast, so I'm like interested to find out if it's going to continue to be as good. Because the first time, okay, so to take a step back, the first time I did my Kolsch, I pressure fermented it. And it was good, but it had a little bit of a skunky off flavor. But what I realized is like I didn't like, so I got a packet of Y yeast, whatever, so the liquid one, and when it was like smack the packet, I didn't burst the thing on the inside. Like, so there's like a little packet of like DME on the inside that's supposed to like let it or not DME, it's liquid LME. So it's supposed to like let the yeast kind of activate like 24 hours or 12 to 24 hours beforehand. And that didn't actually do anything. So when I went to go pour it, it poured that also into it. So I'm pretty sure the yeast were a little bit stressed in the beginning of the pressure fermentation. So I think that had kind of like a huge impact in it. And then the next time I did it, I didn't even do it under pressure. I just did it straight up because I felt like the German yeast, I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea to try and suppress the yeast flavors if you're buying a liquid specific yeast. So like I was like, okay, well, so maybe I shouldn't have like messed around with that. I should have just let it go. But then this one is like, it's got no off smells, and the flavor is just like, well, I don't know if it's spot on because I've never had a Kolsch that I liked like this one from another place, so it might just be different. But from the feedback I've gotten from like the Brewers Guild stuff, it's been like they were impressed with my last one. So like this one is better than that one. So I was like, oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Yeah, I definitely homebrew groups definitely really help you figure out if your beers are spot on or not. I feel like a lot of homebrew groups are nice at first, but if you ask for their honest opinion, they'll give you your honest opinion, and sometimes you gotta just take whatever they say. Not too personal.
That for the most part. Like,
yeah, you do.
Like, don't just say it sucks. Say it sucks, but then tell me why. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know, like, what, like, is it an off smell? Okay, then what can I do? And that's what happened. I went to a brewery or whatever, and the guy, and it was a Brewers Guild meeting, and the guy that was serving us at the brewery tried my beer, and he's like shook it and he said, smell that. He's like, do you smell the sulfur at all? And he's like, I'm like, yeah. He's like, it goes away immediately, but that sulfur smell is like a stressed yeast. So like either do a starter a day or two before you're doing it, and then kind of pitch that yeast, or like try a different yeast strand. And I was like, that's a, cause he's like, otherwise for your 3rd or 4th beer, this is like, you nailed it. It's like, it's out of the park. Good. I'm like, well, it's just a kit. And he's like, What do you mean? Because I feel like there are like kits that are the DME kits, and then there are kits that are all grain kits. And I'm like, well, it's an all grain kit. He's like, okay, so you just got a bunch of grain and you milled it yourself, or you just got a bunch of grain. I'm like, yeah, and I milled it. He's like, so you went from not brewing to like 5 to 10 years in. I'm like, when I hobby, I really hobby.
Yeah, there you go. You hobby hard.
Yeah. But anywho,
Perfect.
there you we've gone a little bit over on this episode, but it is our final episode of this season. So I feel like
last of the season.
Like the 7 people that have listened to us this far are excited to hear. And I was like super happy that this Malt Slayer was decent. So
a lot better. Yeah, a lot better than I didn't know what to expect. I just knew you had your doubts, and I always tried to come up with a very open mind.
For sure.
And now that it's warmer, like a lot of that like bitterness that I wasn't liking, it's kind of just fading away. So I'm also been swirling it a lot though too. So maybe I'm trying to get some of the taste out there. But yeah, season 4 is officially a wrap, which is pretty exciting. Thanks for the journey of following us. I appreciate it. All the comments that we've gotten over the time. But yeah, don't be strangers. Jump in Discord, ask questions. Maybe we'll do a live Q&A, and then I don't know, next couple weeks or so. That'd be kind of fun. Just kind of sit around, jump on, just ask us whatever, and maybe we can answer questions. If we can, go. If we can't, we'll make up some bullshit and what's wrong with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that it's been a pretty solid season this year. I think that having the ability to like kind of have all the stuff on hand has been a lot easier for us to like not have to like decide last minute what's going on. So if you guys have any like suggestions or thoughts, then let us know and we can kind of like, so it's less about, I feel like what we've seen evolve, it's less about the specific style of beer and more about like a specific beer. So I think in the future, the things that are going to change are probably the names of the episodes are going to kind of be the beer, not the style. And then the style will still be on like the, on the like thumbnail thing. But for the most part, I think that we're going to kind of go down this path because it's a little easier for us.
Yeah, most definitely.
Until it's not, and then we'll change again. So that's fine.
Oh yeah, I got to keep everyone on their toes, especially us.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to have a pint with your pals.
Remember, drink responsibly. Like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, ask questions, share us everywhere, please. Yep. Let us grow. We appreciate it. Until next season.
Cheers.
Cheers.